Welcome to our YouTube channel on Success and Women. Women helping women.
Come join us.
See you soon. Welcome to this week's episode of Success and Women. I'm Linda.
I'm Andrea.
And this week, we're actually going to share our why we do what we do. It's been a year and a half of filming and sharing our experiences and everything else with you that we've decided we're going to go back to basics and tell you why we do that. Anyway, but before we get started, Andrew's got her tip for the week.
Well, I saw this tip the other day when I was going through Facebook, and I thought this was an excellent idea. You know how you buy those Tic Tacs?
Yeah.
The little containers, and they have a little spout that clips on and off. And what they did was they keep them, they clean them, dry them, and use them for spices.
Oh my goodness.
So if you're traveling, or if you have a RV, if you go camping, you can put them, the spices that you need in those little Tic Tac containers, and then just somehow,
well, you can
label
easily,
it.
you can label it. You can use a permanent marker because
Right.
it's on clear plastic.
Right.
Oh my God, that's a great
Wasn't it
idea.
great? And not only that, like say you're in an apartment, or you have limited cupboard space, you can, and you like to buy the big containers because you get a better deal. Then you can fill those up, leave them by your stove, and then keep the big containers maybe, downstairs or in a different spot until you need them to refill those containers. And they looked so nice because they were all exactly the same size, and they were labeled. I thought, what a great idea.
Well, they don't take a lot of room.
They don't take a lot of room.
I like that idea.
And especially if you, like I said, camping or RVing.
Live in a very tiny apartment like I do.
Yes, I thought that was a great idea, and I wanted to pass that on.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Now I have to start buying Tic Tacs. Yeah. Anyway, so this week we're going to be telling you our why. Why do we help? If you think about it, and being in the generation that Andrea and I are, when we were going through life, and I'll say when you were in with your career before you decided to,
be a domestic goddess.
That's right. And I continued in my career because I didn't have anybody to be a domestic goddess to. The thing is, we also didn't have a lot of places or people that we could go to, I'm going to say, for guidance and help to actually help us propel into being a better person at whatever profession that we chose to do.
Right.
You would only get, I'll say, the role model of your mom for the most part, but as times change, sometimes you need to share, information and things, how to handle certain things.
Right.
Because it was different back when we were growing up.
Yes, because you would see women, maybe a teacher, maybe a nurse, secretary, but you wouldn't see them in roles as doctors, lawyers, astronauts, scientists. It was just, we didn't have that encouragement or that role model that we would think, I could do that. I'm going to study for that. No, we were taught, to be a secretary, a nurse, a teacher, or a mom.
Right.
A wife.
Even the guidance counselor.
Right.
I remember at our high school, and I remember going there one time, literally, and again, it was basically to be a secretary because I was in a business course. And it was like, but we need guidance, real guidance. And if, like your mom was, and she was a stay-at-home mom for many years, my mother did go out to work, but she was a waitress.
Out of necessity, for a paycheck.
Exactly, because we were so many kids. And so my dad asked my mom to go back to work, and my mom was happy to go because, again, she needed a break from all the kids. But she was a waitress. And it's not that she was just a waitress. She did a good purpose. But she wasn't there to, I'll say, help lift us into thinking bigger. And how we could accomplish that. Right. And so for us, and for me in particular, being a career person my whole entire life, I've had to learn and do it, I'll say, a lot harder and a lot more money, because I had to pay for a lot of courses along the way to get this guidance and make the connections, in order to help me to be more successful?
Well, you know, it's funny, we were talking about that because recently we were on a road trip, and of course my friend who was driving is in the trucking business. So of course we noticed this truck, that truck. He pointed everything out. All of a sudden we're passing this huge 18-wheel rig transport truck, and I look inside, a woman driving that truck. I was so excited. I said, look, that's a woman driving the truck. Because I'm going to tell you a story. When I was younger, and I had a really good friend, you know her brother was a transport truck driver. And one time, we were about, I don't know, 17, 18. We wanted to go with him from Sudbury to Sault Ste. Marie to see how it was to drive in these trucks, and he took us. So we went. He had a beautiful big sleeper in the back, and it was a lot of fun. But when we got to the mill where he had to load up, we could not go in. We had to stay out. They didn't want any women in the mill. Bad luck.
Wow.
Can you imagine? And then catapult 10, 15 years later, I worked in the steel business, and then I did go in the shop, but it was still, I wasn't welcomed as much as, you know, if I had been a man, you know, so we've come a long way.
But
now they're driving them, so they have to bring the truck into the factory or the warehouses or wherever they have to go. So hopefully all that bad luck has gone away. You know, I'm sure it was just an excuse because they didn't want us there.
maybe they had posters of women all
Oh,
over
I'm
the place.
sure they
Who knows?
did. I'm sure
But,
they did.
but getting back to, you know, the why, Andrea. So why did you, you know, want to do this with me?
Well, that's funny because, you know, in the beginning when you mentioned it, I was very apprehensive, and you basically dragged me into it. And, you know, little by little, just because I was nervous, hadn't been in the workplace for a long time.
So you didn't think you had anything to offer?
I didn't think I had that much to offer. But now that we've done it and we've been doing it, I enjoying it so much. I look forward to doing it. And the fun, and I'm, wherever I go now, I have people coming up to me and saying, recently I was just in Chicago for a sad event, but a couple of the people that I know I haven't seen in a while came up to me and said, oh, we watch your show, we enjoy it, we love your show. We husband and wife, they watch it together.
Wow.
And I've had quite a few people here say, oh, I love your tips, I use all your tips, they're fantastic. And a friend in Nova Scotia reached out and said, love your show, keep it up. So now it's making my why even stronger. I'm loving the fact that I am making a difference. And even though maybe we don't have all the subscribers that we need, the ones that do watch us enjoy and are grateful for it. So that is now my why.
So speaking of your why, and this is very important, ladies, to have a why, whatever you do. So we're here to help you. My why is very strong because, like I said, going through the ranks, working my way up, I'm in a male-dominated industry, still is. I can go to a meeting, and the room, if you look across, you might get a handful of women, maybe 10, in a whole big room of 100 or 200 men.
Right.
And it's like, you know, that's got to change, but a lot of women don't have that support. But one of the things about having that why, so it's important for me to help other women because it was more of a struggle and going through, I'll say, because now it's more and more accepted to be a woman in almost any profession.
Right.
And actually, I just have to tell you this on the side before I get to why I was getting to the why again. But I did see an article one time where there was a woman pilot and flying the big commercial jets, and she had her adult daughter, and she was the co-pilot.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh
How
my God,
awesome
we
is
have
that?
come so far. But obviously they had really good influence from somebody. My father always told me I could be anything, where back then it wasn't even common for that, like we talked about.
Yeah.
You know, it was again, nothing wrong with those professions if that's what you want, but we don't want to limit women
Exactly.
to professions, okay?
Exactly.
You have to be able to say this is what you're passionate about and go for it regardless of what society says.
Exactly.
Because somebody has to break that barrier.
Exactly. Where would we be without some of the women that, blaze the trail for
Exactly.
for women voting and working, and the first woman that was in medicine or in parliament, like they were booed and laughed at,
and they definitely were not accepted, and it was hard to get their message across because nobody gave them the respect that they deserved. But I would just like, when we were talking earlier about, you go to Weight Watchers, and you had a little slip up before you went, and had to make a decision. Do I go or not go?
Right.
And I just thought that this was a good analogy on having a strong why on anything.
Right. So that's what happened maybe a month ago or before that. And I had been going every week to the meetings, and, beautiful, a pound down. And that's really what all I expect is between a pound, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. But this one week I knew that, I had overdone it. We had a social event and whatever. So come the day of the meeting, it's a dilemma, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go, and then I'll wait, be good next week. And then I said, no, you're going. And, so I went, got on the scale, and I was really surprised. I was up, but not as I had imagined, that it, it only went up 1 pound point something, and I thought it was going to be like 3. So for me, that was a victory. But when we started the meeting, I told the story that, I was thinking I'm not coming, and was very happy that I did, because it wasn't a failure. For me, it was a victory that, first of all, I got there. And so the leader said, and what made you decide to come? And I said, my why. And she said, what? I said, my why I'm here. I want to lose the weight that I want to lose, and I'm committed to it. If I hadn't have gone, to me, that would be like, well, are you really committed, or are you just wishy-washy about it? But in going, it even encouraged me more, because I had a victory where I thought it was going to be a real downer weigh-in.
But say it was. The fact that you had to make the decision, because
I had to be accountable to myself.
Exactly. And that was the bigger thing, because you had a strong enough why. As you said, if it was just a wishy-washy, I don't really want to, I want to lose weight. No, I really, it's okay if I don't lose weight, but I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
So you know what, I'm going to wait till next week. And then you know what, I'll make sure I'm really good, so that I can at least prove to myself, I'm down. But you confronted a situation knowing that you could be going in and gaining these 3 or 4 or 5 pounds, because you knew that you were off. But you did it because your why was strong enough.
It is strong, yeah. And you need that. You need that why. And you have to be committed to it.
Exactly. And so, when we go along, and as I said, I've done a lot of training courses, probably since 1991 or 1992 was my first introduction to getting trained. But being in a room, even though even back then there were a lot of men taking these training courses, not as many women, but knowing that when I went there, there was the support, not just from the person that was doing the training, but some of the people that I met, and especially when I got to meet some women and the different fields and stuff.
Right.
Knowing that you could do whatever it is that you wanted to do, even though my own environment maybe wasn't socially accepted.
Right.
It was different, because that's men. Men do that. Women don't do that.
Yeah.
No, that's men.
Yeah.
You go into something else, but or you could work for the man, but you don't actually take the role of what normally would be a man's profession.
Right.
And so for women, that's one of the things, I've learned over the years is that, and I've had some women that were good influences on my life, that it's like, I want to be able to do that. And I especially want to do it for younger women that think for some reason, whether it's their background, their education, I'll say their whole environment of where they're living and exposed to, because they always say you're sort of the person of the 5 people you hang around with that you're closest.
Oh, okay.
But if you've got people that always, I'll say, because it could be hard luck stories, and there's all of those all over the place,
sure.
and that's your environment, and all these people say, oh, you'll never do that, because of whatever, because of where you come from, your background, you didn't have the money or the connections or whatever.
The connections, right.
And people always want to keep you down, because if you get and stretch yourself into another, I'll say, level, those other people you leave behind feel like they're a failure,
right,
because of your success.
Exactly.
And sometimes you need other women to say, listen, it's okay.
And it's possible.
It's not only possible, but it's okay that
it's okay.
If you have to leave them behind.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, leave those people behind. Exactly, because they didn't encourage you and they didn't believe in you.
Right. But maybe by you having that strong enough why to break through, that you can bring along some of those people.
Some, yes. Like
They
out of
won't
5,
all.
maybe 1 or 2 will look up and say, wow, she did it, I'm going to do it. Or the other people might say, oh, she just got lucky, or she had help, or she had financial assistance. I don't have that. No, you have to, you know that there will be people that will be happy for you and some that won't. But be the person that is encouraged by someone else's success.
Absolutely.
And follow in their footsteps.
And I took a course in 2012 with Jack Canfield. And sometimes you have to act as if you already have that particular career, and you've already got that level of success that you're looking for. And the reason is because you want to keep planting that seed in your own mind. And when your why is strong enough, like Andrea, even if you get, times where it's hard to confront something that's going on, you do it anyway.
You do it anyways.
Because if you can keep doing that, acting as if, and doing it even when it hurts, even when you fail, because failure is just a way of showing you what's not working so that you can do something else that will eventually work.
Right. And you can feel good that you tried.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing, right? If you never try, you get regrets down the road. I wish I would have done that. I when I look back now and it's like, yeah, I should have done this, I should have done that. You don't want to live your life with regrets.
Exactly.
You want to know that at least if you don't get it, you've at least tried.
Right.
You've put yourself out there, you put yourself into an uncomfortable position, and you've tried.
And who knows, you could succeed.
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking. Think about that, right?
Exactly.
If you actually get to that level of success. When we were on the Jack Canfield program, when we had a party at the end of the training session, and it was come as if you were 5 years into the future, as if you've accomplished what you had set yourself out to. And, a lot of us had wanted to pretend that we've, written a book. A lot of people had wanted to write a book. So what people did was they got some graphics made, and they did a book cover and put it on a book, and they came and said, oh yeah, by the way, I've got my new book out.
Awesome.
And they're, at the party showing off their book. Yeah. And I remember, I think somebody had a cutout of somebody famous that they had wanted to be on their show. Wow. And they had brought that as if, I was on, I'll just say, the Oprah show, that kind of thing. It was just fun because even though it was make-believe, it was to help you internalize and make you believe what's possible.
Right.
Because why isn't everything possible? If it's what you really want,
yes,
there's ways to do it, and there's people that can help you along the way.
You have to be committed and determined. And
open to the help.
Exactly.
And that's why when you get to that level of success, you can turn around and help the next person, because everything is about paying it forward.
Paying it forward.
And, that's what Andrea and I try to do every week on this show, is to help, I'll say, reduce the struggles that we've gone through in trailblazing.
Right.
our path.
Or stories that we've heard of other people, and that's why I always say, on the premise of paying it forward. Maybe this episode was something that, you didn't enjoy so much, or you didn't find it useful.
Yeah.
But see, you might know somebody that could use that information and would find it very useful. And that's why we always say share, 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 share. And that person might, maybe for them it's not useful, but they know a friend. And that's how it works. And with the internet now, that is such a great tool.
Well, we surely didn't have that.
We didn't have that, exactly. You know, maybe you might pick up a phone or whatever, but now anything you want, you can just Google. But like I'm saying, that's why we say share, because you might have a friend in your circle, amongst your friends on Facebook or on Instagram, that could really benefit from the message of this week or last week or future weeks. Just keep an open mind.
Absolutely, because we have to be women helping women.
Exactly.
If we want to really get through, I'll say, that barrier, because there is still a barrier. And in a lot of things, I mean, you know, I was reading something about just the pay inequity.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even got that yet, where we get equal pay for equal work.
Right.
Now, luckily for my profession, there's no issue. But there's a lot of profession, women are still being underpaid. And underappreciated for their contributions.
And they do more. I find women, they pay attention to detail.
Yes.
They'll go the extra mile. If they have to stay 5 minutes, 10 minutes late, they'll do it. But they don't get recognized or paid for it.
No, and
at least that's the way I was when I worked.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But do you remember, and we've talked about this before, there was a movie about these 4 ladies that were really part of the space program that really didn't get recognized. I'm going to say until more recently.
Something about fences?
Not fences.
I know the movie you're talking about.
And I can't think about it right now, but the point is,
great movie.
It was a great movie because it took all of these years for those women to finally get acknowledged, and they were way underpaid.
Exactly.
Way underpaid for what their contributions were to the space program.
Exactly.
And it was like, wow, behind the scenes, in a lot of cases, it's women that really should be getting the credit for a lot of things, you know, that we're going through kind of thing, and that we're not acknowledged at all.
Right. Or even just being there for, say you have a boss, you know, you encourage him, you take the load off, help him with the stress, if that's your position, you know, and even in marriage.
Yeah.
You know, like I find, like I like to take a lot of stress off of my husband. What I can do, I'll do, so that, you know, and say, you know, give him more time to do what he has to do, not think about troubles at home or whatever. Like we all have a job, a place, and you need to find it and use it to your best ability.
Absolutely. So we will be back each week to help uplift and motivate you to stretch yourself to become the success that you want in whatever it is that you want.
Find your why.
Find your why. That's so important. So until next week, I'm Linda.
I'm Andrea.
And we hope you like,
share,
and please subscribe. We can't do it without you.
Yes.